G'day everyone, Matt Thompson with you. Welcome to the 2013 Footy Focus series here on AFL.com.au. Today we're going to look at the benchmarks, the tactics and the areas the team must improve in to achieve their goal this season. And our AFL.com.au expert to take us through our Footy Focus previews is a very familiar face. Garry Lyon, welcome to the AFL website, Gaz.
Matty, great to be here. Absolute privilege to be working with you. Footy about to get underway. Plenty to get through today. Yeah,
very exciting times. Let's talk about the Magpies first of all, and they really do need to rediscover their manic forward 50 pressure.
Yeah, look, I think the signs are really good early in the NAB Cup. I think this is something that Nathan Buckley's been working on. They want to try and keep that footy locked in their forward half for as much as they can, and particularly against West Coast, who have it their own way in the back half. I thought the pressure of the forward half was wonderful. The young Callum Mooney there, Jamie Elliott, another inclusion, and even the older blokes. When you see Travis Cloke tackling the way he did, I think it's a really good sign. And if they can keep that football in their forward half, take a little bit of pressure off their back line, which is a reasonable back line, but I think it can still be a touch suspect. But if they can get the game played in their front half, then I think we're going to see Collingwood way back up in that top four, and in fact vying for a spot in the last day in September.
A couple of other things they really have to sort out: their ruck spot, their second ruck spot, and just their depth overall.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Jolly is a wonderful warrior, but I mean, Quentin Lynch has been targeted as that specific player that can play the tall forward and then push in and spend some time in the ruck. And I think, look, sometimes when players move from club to club, their position is elevated, and we probably speak a lot about Quentin Lynch, but this guy I think is interesting as well. Clinton Young from Hawthorn, a wonderful distributor, take a little bit of pressure off Daisy Thomas, had an interrupted pre-season as we know. Jordan Russell off half-back. Now, whether or not he can maintain a spot will be interesting, but I think their forwards will appreciate their delivery. And a couple of youngsters, Sam Dwyer, who they've recruited from the VFL, just adds to their depth. You know, Kyle Martin, another one who's just dishing off here. So, look, I think they've targeted players specifically in the draft, and I think their depth has improved markedly.
Let's talk about the Bombers. Obviously, they've been one of the stories of the off-season. The pressure really is on James Hird and the coaching staff to actually help the players through this situation, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and it's a difficult one. It's unprecedented, the sort of pressure that footy club's been in over the summer months. So we'll have to wait and see. Probably getting out on the playing field is going to be the best thing for them. I mean, to get away from the off-field distraction. So their ability to focus on the job at hand is going to be critical, and we'll find out, I guess, in the first 4 weeks whether or not they've been able to deal with that.
Brendan Goddard, obviously the massive acquisition, and a fit Zaharakis as well. I mean, that's a good news story for the Bombers too.
Yeah, delivery going forward I think is really important. Depth and quality disposal through the middle. So Zaharakis, get back to that form. Goddard is a wonderful distributor. And I think Dyson Heppel, the other one, who they've targeted to push through the midfield to give them some better quality going forward.
Now, let's look at the West Coast Eagles. They really need an injury-free season out of their top 10 players, don't they?
Well, they do, and I'm a massive West Coast fan. I think they're going to be right there when the whips are cracking, and they had some massive injury problems last year, no question about it. And everyone gets injuries, we understand that, but when they are to players that are ranked 1 to 10, then it puts a lot of pressure on your list. So to get those players back and playing, 15 to 20 games, will ensure that the West Coast Eagles are going to be right there when the premiership's decided.
We're talking about the benchmarks. Nick Nat and Dean Cox, when you're talking about benchmarks in the ruck, are two incredible individuals.
Well, it'd be wrong not to put a highlight reel together and have Nick Nat Newey in it. I mean, what we've got with Nat Newey is we're not sure what the ceiling is for this young bloke. I mean, he develops every single year. He's got some unbelievable skill. This passage of play here, that's just instinct. And I would expect that he will get better and better. It's painful to say for a Melbourne supporter, of course, but I mean, take a little bit more pressure off Dean Cox, although he's got a little bit of an injury concern. But I mean, if he can get back fit, this athleticism that he displays regularly is something that the whole of the AFL enjoy, and West Coast will certainly enjoy it as well.
Now, you've put this on the agenda with the Blues. Their forward setup, they've got Jared Waite. Who else is going to step up potentially?
Well, Jared Waite for me is the most important player at Carlton, and I know a lot of footy people say you're mad, but I just think when he is regularly playing footy, 27 goals I think last year, only played half a year and was not fit. But look, a couple of workhorses have appeared over the summer months. This guy is a great story, Sam Rowe, just coming back from testicular cancer. Just loved his work ethic and his ability to compete. And Levi Casbolt, who showed some signs last year that he's got something about him. He can take a mark, he's a bit untidy, but gets the job done more often than not. So a fit Waite Casbolt and Rowe just working around the forward half, I think it looks all right for the Blues.
All right, let's talk about GWS now. We've seen some positive signs from them in the NAB Cup, even though maybe their execution hasn't been brilliant. They've been pretty hard at the footy.
Yeah, and I think that's been something that's non-negotiable, right from when Kevin Sheedy and Silvani put that list together, is they need hardness at the footy. And I think, again, over 12 months on, that their signs in the NAB Cup were there, but they need to tidy up their skill through the middle of the ground, and that comes with experience. These kids, I've seen them all play at underage level. They're great distributors, but to be able to deal with the pressure of AFL footy and get the job done, that's their issue in the next 12 months.
All the talk about Jonathan Giles in the ruck. I mean, Dean Brogan's the veteran ruckman for GWS. He almost wasn't on their list for it. Well, he wasn't on their list for a time there during the off-season.
Well, Giles was a great story and had a terrific year, but they need some support. And there's a couple of names here. I've done a lot of work on this. Andrew Phillips, a 22-year-old who's been around for a little while. He needs to be able to show that he can play at the level. And Tom Downey, another one. So write those ones in your black book, will you, Matty?
Yeah, absolutely. They've got a lot of work to do, those two boys. We'll be following their progress very, very closely. All right, let's talk about the Tigers now. Skill out of the back line is an area you want to focus on with them.
Yeah, and again, they recruit specifically for need, and they've identified that that's the case. And Chris Knights has come in as well. Basher Hurley last couple of years, who's a great distributor as well. So, I mean, their forward setup is something that we need to have a look at as well. But a lot of that can come back to the way the ball goes forward. Their midfield's elite. They like to play Delio off half-back, but now is a genuine midfielder. So they just need to be a little tidier out of the back half, and I think that they've recruited for need. Vlosten, the young kid that they've recruited, we might talk about him later. He's going to be important for them.
Is there too much focus on Jack Riewoldt up forward?
Probably is. Coleman medalist. I think he loves the focus, so let's not take it away from him too much. But, I mean, Tyrone Vickery's the one, isn't he? I mean, he didn't play much at all last year. He's a little bit workhorse-ish, like Casbolt that we spoke about in Rowe. So for him to get on the park regularly is going to be really important for the Tigers.
All right, the Swans, obviously, they've got to manage expectations now, don't they?
Well, that's the question. I mean, not too many back-to-back premiers in AFL footy. I mean, every time that a team wins a grand final, we think they're going to be there in the following year, but for whatever reason they're not. And it's an intangible. We don't know how these young kids are going to handle having climbed the top of the mountain. You know, climbing it is one thing because you focus. Once you get there and you sit atop it, it's a whole different view. So that's Hanbury and that's Jack, and that's the real quality young kids. We know Goods, we know O'Keefe, and we know McVeigh, wonderful leaders. But how is Jeddah and those boys going to go when the hunger's been sort of satisfied to some degree? I mean, it'd be wonderful to see them get up again. Longmire, we're working really hard at it. But that's the great unknown. Can they be as hungry? Can they be as dedicated and hard at it as they were this year when they're at the top of the mountain?
The Swans really haven't taken the pre-season seriously, even going back to the Paul Roos era. I mean, we shouldn't really worry about their NAB Cup form, should we?
Not one bit. When Paul Roos was alleged to have said one day when he put a player back on, Jared McVeigh, go on but don't kick a goal, we get an understanding of where the Swans' mindset is in terms of NAB Cup. So they and Hawthorn sit on the bottom of the NAB Cup ladder. Wouldn't worry about it too much. All
right, Gary, thank you for that. Keep clicking back to afl.com.au for our next 2013 Footy Focus. Next time on the show, Gary will tell us the players who you should keep your eye on this season. For now, thanks for joining us. Catch you soon.